Alright, I'm going to make a video on removing the carb and cleaning it on a 2003 Yamaha Kodiak 450. This will be the same for the Kodiak 400 and 450 from 2000 and on. First thing we'll do, we'll remove the seat, then remove both side panels, come off right like that, then we'll take the tank cover off. Okay, so first we'll take 10mm off each side. Then take a 4mm Allen and take those two out of the front, and then the tank cover will come right off. The two Allens out. Now take the fuel cap off. Pull it like that. Pull it right out. Alright, so now to take the tank off, you gotta take a 10mm off on the front on either side, 10mm on the back on either side. Then we'll remove a screw inside the fuel knob. It's a Phillips. And then we'll remove the fuel line off the carb. Make sure we shut the fuel valve off first. And the tank will come out. That bolt out. And be sure when you pull these front bolts off that you don't forget to pull out the spacer, so you don't lose that. So now the fuel tank should come right off. Alright, got that off. Alright, so I cut some of these zip ties off so we can pull this back. Now we just need to loosen up the choke. Pull that out and thread it. Set that aside. Be careful not to let this end fall off. It can pop right off the cable. Now we have to take a 3mm Allen, loosen up the front boot. Then we'll take a Phillips head screwdriver and loosen up the rear boot. Okay, we got the front and rear boots loosened. Pull off this breather hose. Pull off this hose off the top. Now we should be able to just try to do this with one hand. Pull the carburetor back out of the front boot. Then just kind of pivot it to the side and pull it off of the rear boot. Now we just have to loosen up the throttle cable and take this cover off. Right, so I took an 8mm wrench, loosened up the throttle cable. Now you just have to fish the cable out of there and make sure you don't lose this little brass thing. It comes off of the end of the cable. And then after you get the cable loosened, we can just thread it out. Pliers to loosen that off. Now the throttle cable, let's thread right out of the carb. Just like that. Alright, we got the carb off. Now it's time to go clean it. Alright, so in this video I'm not going to do a full carb clean. I'm just going to pull the bowl off and make sure the jets are clean because I think the pilot jet's clogged. So we'll do that. Looks pretty clean. So we'll just pull the pilot jet out, that one right there, and we'll pull the main jet out, make sure it's clean. There's the jet for the choke. So we'll pull all those out and make sure they're clean. Alright, so I got the jets out. The pilot jet looked like it was a little bit clogged. There's the pilot jet. It's a pretty small hole. So I'll have to clean it out with a bristle from a wire brush. Now I'll take the fuel air mixture screw out. Before you take this screw out, it needs to be probably set back to where it used to be. So first we'll thread it in and see how many turns it's threaded in. Then we'll put it back to that when we put it back together. So this one is 1, 2, about 2 1/4. So we'll take it out and we'll put it back to that when we put it back together. And you got to be very careful threading these down because you do not want to thread them in too tight, else you can damage the tip. So after you take that out, there'll also be a spring. Pull the spring out, and there'll be a washer and an O-ring. There's the washer and O-ring. Oh, they had these upside down. First goes the O-ring, then the washer, then the spring, then the screw. They had these a little backwards, so we'll put it back together the right way. So we'll blow some carb cleaner through the ports we have open, mainly the pilot ports. Go through there, make sure they're all cleared out. Then we'll blow some air through them. Also do the same with the jets. Blow some carb cleaner through them, and we'll blow some air through them. And then, of course, the pilot jet. We'll use a wire brush bristle and clean that out. All right, so we got the jets cleaned out. We got the bowl cleaned out. We're not going to worry about the float. It was all working fine. The carb wasn't overflowing. So put the main jet back in. Put the little jet for the choke back in. And put the pilot jet back in. And we'll thread all those down. All right, so we got it all stacked up correctly on the screw. Got the washer, or got the spring, then the washer, then the O-ring. Now we'll stick them back into their hole, thread them down, and we'll just barely seat it, and then we'll back it off 2 1/4 turns like it was before. All right, we got the bowl on, the screws tightened down. Now we'll go put the carb back on the four-wheeler. Right, now we just have the reverse procedure. We'll just set the carb in there, thread the cable in, put the little brass thing back on. All right, we tighten the cable down with our wrench. Then we put the seal in place. Now we just have to put the cover on and put the screws in. All right, now we just got to fish the carb in there. Just kind of got to fish it into the back boot first, then push it back. And you can just pop it right into the front boot like that. Make sure it goes all the way. We got the 2 clamps tightened down. We'll put the choke back in its hole and thread that down. Careful not to over tighten this. It's plastic, so it could easily strip. Just like that. Now we'll put the 2 hoses back on. Leader hose. Alright, now we'll put this back in place, and we'll get some new zip ties to zip tie that. Alright, now we'll set the fuel tank back in place, and just have to carefully fish the line back down through and get up. Fuel line hooked up. Set the tank into place. Stuck in this intake. Alright, now we'll put the bolts in. And for the bolts, don't forget to put the spacer in. Put your spacer in, and your washer and bolt. Alright, so we'll get the tank bolted down. Got the fuel valve threaded back on. Now we just gotta put the tank cover back on. Alright, we got the screws in the tank cover, front and rear. Now we can just put the side covers back on and put the seat on. Alright, so that's my video of moving the carburetor, installing it again on a Yamaha Kodiak automatic. Alright, thanks for watching.